Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's another Tuesday. It is possible Tuesday with Sanya. And we have an extra special guest. And this person is extra special because this person has known me for years.
Yeah, yeah, let's just leave it there. Let's not put a number on it. We're too young.
No, we won't put a number on it, but
Let's
this
not put a
person has
number
known
on
me
it.
for years. Um, and we normally start off by saying, "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for prosperity and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope." But Jesus beheld them and said unto them, "With men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible." Our guest today, can you believe it? This is the second week in December. It's the second Tuesday in December. Hello, the month is
Mhm.
finishing.
It's
Next
about
week, the
over.
week after next is Christmas. I
It's
hope
Christmas.
everybody has had their Christmas cake and the sorrel is ready and all of that thing.
Coming
Everybody
up.
ready for Christmas? I hope so. Well, my special guest this evening is very important. A very special person. Actually, I'm going to let my friend introduce herself. I'm going to ask her to tell us her name and where she's from.
My name is Dorothy Patrickson. I'm from a little district in Jamaica called Albion in the parish of Manchester in the middle of the country, the coolest, nicest place to be.
Yes.
And I
Oh, yes.
now I now reside in Maryland, in the US, and every now and then, like yesterday morning, I woke up and there was snow everywhere, and I'm like, why? But here I am. Like, you get kind of stuck here now that I've been here for so many years. I'm like, okay, brush the snow off and keep on moving. But every now and then I
Exactly.
feel like, why? But you just roll with it
Nostal-
because
yeah.
it's where you are
Nostalgia
right
kicks
now.
in.
It's where God has planted me right now.
Yeah.
So
And you seem to be blooming. So I'm
thank
happy
you.
about that. So you've mentioned that you grew up in Albion, that you're from Albion. Tell me a little bit about your early start, your childhood in Albion. What was life like for you?
So my parents moved to Albion because my mom, especially, her desire was for her kids to have an education. And my mom was not educated. My mom left school like many of her generation in elementary school, and they became caregivers for people and older siblings and younger, not older siblings, but younger siblings and all kinds of stuff. So her desire was her kids would not do that. So she wanted her kids to go to West Indies College, West Indies Training College, it was called back in the day when she got married to my father. And so they moved to Albion because it was walking distance to the college, and neither one of them drove. So that was the desire of her heart. And so we all moved to Albion, which is when you're young and walking, it seems so short. But then when you got older and you actually measured it, it was about 3 miles. But for
Wow.
us, that was a good 20 minutes walk, and we were at school
Mm,
every day. But my
yes, yes.
parents were Adventists, and so they wanted us to have a Christian education. Plus, West Indies College, as it was then known, by the time I got there,
Yes.
offered a work study program. So that worked out just really well for us as a family because I am from a family of four. We all went to elementary school, high school, and college at West
Yes.
Indies College because that was my parents' dream. But
Mm.
I grew up in this nice little district, had a few friends, still have some friends that I'm in contact with on a regular basis from there. Got into lots of trouble as kids do, and then I was the last kid and I didn't obey the rules, so but it was fun growing up. I have very fond memories.
Yeah. And which church did you attend?
My mother was a diehard West Indies College person, so we went to college church. And I really
Oh,
liked Not Patrick Church. So
oh
I
yes.
would go to college church in the morning, Not Patrick Church in the evening. And
Oh
her
yes.
thing was like, you're searching for God? God is right. You don't need to go there. I said, but over in Patrick, they have a lot of young people because Yvonne and Sharon were my friends. We were the three
Right.
musketeers in high school. So I wanted to be with my friends, and that's where they go. And she gave me I was able to go because I was going to church. There's no problem going to
Yes.
church. But she just didn't see why I wanted to go all that
All
way.
the way.
And I had to
Yes.
walk because she would not give me money for the taxi because she didn't see the need for me to go to my Patrick church. There was also a church in Albion, which was a stone throw from where I live. I would go to that occasionally, but now Patrick was where I wanted to go to see my friends. But she wouldn't. She knew the
Kid.
Gordons and she knew the Rays, so it was okay to go. But she just didn't see the need to go that far and to be going to tour three different churches when you could just go to West Indies College. They have everything. She was a die-hard West Indies College follower or supporter, I should say.
Yeah. Oh wow. And that's a long distance, to walk
Oh
from
yes,
Albion to North Patrick.
but I did. I did every Sabbath just to go.
And
And
and that
then
sorry, go ahead, though.
you were walking in your dress shoes. You weren't walking in sneakers like we do now. You're walking in
No,
your
no,
dress
no.
shoes, and the roads were
Yes,
rough. They weren't paved. We made it. I made it.
yes, yes. And you've spoken about your friends being at North Patrick, and you wanted to be with your friends. And Yvonne has just joined, and she said hi, hi sis, and
I
Desiree has
even.
joined, and she has said, "Look at my hot mother." Yeah, so yeah, yeah, yeah. The friends are coming on, and welcome, Des. Welcome, Yvonne. So your friendships have stood the test of time. You've spoken
Mhm.
about the Gordons and the Rays, and they were your friends throughout your school life and
As far back
your
as I can remember.
yeah. Melba has joined as well, saying hi, sis.
Hey, Mel.
Um, so you've been to prep school. What was the transition to high school and college like for you?
It wasn't a big deal because I just felt like I just moved from one room to, well, elementary school was down the bottom by the print shop and stuff like that. And high school and college shared the same classroom. So I felt like I was grown up now. I was in the big room with the big kids. But it wasn't a great transition. It wasn't a big thing for me because I had older siblings. And so
Mhm.
I knew a lot of the older people. So and then your friends that you went to elementary school with, 90% of them are also going to high school with you. So it continued real seamlessly.
Yes, yes. Now you you've spoken about your parents being Adventists, and you've spoken about your mom being very committed to West Indies College and church there. How active were you in church?
I was not very active because I was not going to, I was back and forth, so to
What?
speak.
Mhm,
But I was
mhm.
all for the Bible games. Anywhere there was a
Yeah.
Bible game, I was there. I'm ashamed to say, but I don't know, remember the books of the Bible like I used to. The other day we had Sabbath school lesson and it had Nahum, and I couldn't
Yeah,
find it in the
no.
Bible. I had to. Luckily, we now have the phones and we could scroll real
Just
easily.
click.
But I was in church and I had my Bible and I couldn't find it. I
Exactly.
had to go look in the index to find it. But um, I remember as a kid being able to recite the 13th Sabbath on 13th
Oh,
Sabbath. I recite
yes. Yes.
the memory verses
The
and
memory
stuff like that.
verses,
But
yes.
I never held any position, so to speak, in church
Mhm.
because, like, if you go to West Indies College Church, it's a college church. It has a lot of
Mhm.
students, so
It-
you had to be a deacon or an elder, and that was for the older folks. And at my young age, it's like I'm not that old. I'm not. But my mom was a deaconess, so whatever
mhm.
she was involved in, we were involved
It's
in.
all
So
there.
there were all kinds of programs that she would do, and we would have to help. But I never really held any position in either church. I just, as a permanent visitor.
And with good friends who are still with you now. Tell me a little bit about some of your friendships that you had. You mentioned Yvonne and you mentioned Sharon. Um, you said you were the three musketeers.
We
what was
were,
the
well, in
friendship?
high school, we kind of just gelled together. I have no idea. I don't remember how that happened. I'm in my 60s. My memory's not what it used to be, but I just remember that we were friends and we used to hang out
Friends,
all the
yes.
time. And
Good,
then along
good.
the way, I met people like Melba, and then Desiree, I met much later. But friendship is very important to me. It's
Mhm,
even if I have more friends that live further away than close to me, because those are friends from a long time ago.
mhm,
And those are the
mhm.
people who I can call, I could cry, I could laugh, I could do whatever with and never get judged. And
Yes,
nobody, because they know you, they know the real you. So when you're
yes.
having a good moment, that's the person you want to share it with. When you're having a sad moment, that's who you call. When you want to cry, that's who you call.
Mm. Now, you did when you went to college, what did you study?
So, being the last child, I have no mind of my own most of the times. So my sister that I followed was doing business and I wanted to be a teacher. But then I thought about it and I'm like, I don't like the children that much. They're hard and they don't listen. So I decided to do business. But that was not for me. I could not balance up, uh, couldn't work a loss and profit and couldn't do the journal entry. So my first year of college, I'm very happy to say it was not good. I have to look at it that it was a learning experience. So
Experience.
I flunked. I flunked the first year of college. I really did. And so my mom saying, we're not going to waste any money. Figure out what you're doing. So I decided to do secretarial science, which was my groove. I found my groove by doing that.
Yes.
Typing was my, um,
Okay.
I don't know if you remember back in the day or if you were
The
there back in the day.
competitions.
It was a typewriter. And when it was a typing test, it was like music to your ear. And you wanted to be part of that. And then you want to look at that paper and see zero
Yes.
mistakes. I really enjoy that. So college, which should have taken 2 years, took 3 years, but it was the best choice I made in switching because it has remained in my career to this day.
Wow. I remember there were days when there were competitions in the chapel with the secretarial students to
Yep,
see speed and things, and it was real music to the
it
ears. I
was
remember ping,
music.
ping, 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 ching,
Ping.
ching, 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 ping.
Remember the ping, ping, ping. Yep.
I
And I
remember.
had everybody wanted the newer machine. I had a Royal. But what I liked about that Royal typewriter is the keys were hard. So you had to bang on those keys. And once you got that rhythm, and the keys were
Good.
set so far apart that touching another key wasn't possible. So mistakes were very minimal. And it turned out to be my one of my livelihoods in college. I typed so many term papers on that Royal machine.
Was it
So
machine? Wow.
ours to
And
Royal, wherever they are today.
and so after your first you did your secretarial course 2 years. What happened next? Did you go straight into the world of employment? Did you
I
move
went,
on to another degree or what?
no, I went, I thought I was grown. I needed money. I needed to work. I needed to be free. So I, and to be honest, Western Scotland is the only place I could go. And they didn't have anything for me because you'd either have to do a bachelor's in education, which of course, I would not have done because I wasn't going to be a teacher, or business. And of course, I already flunked business, so that wasn't a possibility. And then theology. And I'm like, nah, not for me. So those
Pastor
were the,
Dorothy.
oh, Pastor Dorothy. I didn't even want to talk to a pastor. I didn't even want to date a pastor. It's like, oh, no. Anyway, I went to work at Central Jamaica Conference. That was my first job straight out of college.
Okay. Spanish Town.
Good old Spain Town. Yep. Still,
Yes, yes.
I still have great love for Spanish Town. It was my first step into independence. Was living in Spanish Town.
Lovely. And what was that? So you're now independent, you're living on your own. What was that like for you coming from your close-knit family and from, I'm going to say
You know
shelter
what is
because you
so
would have been
funny?
in.
You think that you have freedom, but you could just hear your mother in your head telling you everything she told you not to do, you still didn't do. For example, I remember as growing up, we never wore pants. We weren't allowed to. We were
Mm-hmm.
a strict family. And I remember the first day I wore a jeans and I just kept looking around to see, is anybody seeing me? What do I look like? It was such a big deal. And it, it became such a big deal that I could actually do something. And in my mind, it wasn't wrong. It was just
Yeah.
the way we were taught.
We're
So
broad, yes.
it was
And
good.
you're,
But it was good
you're
to, I had roommates. So it wasn't like I was living by myself.
no,
I had roommates until I migrated. I've never lived by myself until I moved to the US. I've always had roommates. So when I was working at Central, I had roommates. Sharon Anderson, now Shay, was my roommates for a very long time. We both worked at Central, then we left and went to work at Andrews Hospital, and then we went to work different places, but we remained roommates until she got married and then I migrated.
okay, lovely. Now, you made the decision to migrate. Did you go straight to where you are now, or was that a later transition?
No, I came here. My the way immigration works is someone has to sponsor you for you to move here and be legal. So my brother sponsored me. At the time, my brother worked at Loma Linda in California. So I was planning to go to Loma Linda and I was quite excited. I was going to California. When
Of
I went for my
course.
interview, I was going to California and the guy was like, "Oh, you're going to love California. It's like Jamaica." And I was so looking forward to California. And then my sister, who is the oldest and is a matriarch of the family now, so to speak,
Yeah.
she said, "Why would you want to go to California? Why would you want to live with your sister in law? You need to live with your sister, not your sister in law." She said, "Because it's the woman's house, it's not the man's house." I'm like, "But I want to go to California." Anyway, she bought the ticket and she bought a ticket to Maryland because this is where she lived. And so I came to Maryland and I've
Well,
never left. So and I've been to California a couple of times and I'm glad I live in Maryland.
wow. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, but I was so gung ho. I'm going to California, and it's just so beautiful. And the pictures he would send, they were so beautiful. I just wanted to go, and it didn't work that way. But God had a better plan.
And I think that's one of the things that we through this program we recognize, God has a plan and we may be making our own plans, but God's plans actually work out better for us. Could you give me some other experiences where you've recognized that God's hand is working through your life?
There was a once I was looking for a job. I was temping, and I wanted a permanent job. And I went to this place. I went to this office in they were in Bethesda, which was not far from where I was at the time. And it was a really nice job. And the lady who interviewed me, she lived 2 miles or so away from me. She said, "Oh, we could carpool." And she gave me all these great ideas. And I walked out of that office feeling like I got the job. I was so convinced I got the job. And we were going to carpool. We were going to be best friends. And it was a predominantly Caucasian office. So there were a few of us of the African American
Because I can.
persuasion. So I was like, yes, I got a friend already. I was so happy. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, I got a phone call. "Sorry, we went with another candidate." And I was just so devastated because I was so sure this job was for me. Anyway, I kept on tempting. I ended up at the Inter American Development Bank and I got a contract there. And I was working in the section that does contracts for countries and, different companies and stuff like that. And I got a change of address request. And it was from the same company I had interviewed for and cried because I didn't get the job. And they had moved to the other side of Virginia. So God saved me from getting that job because I would have been unemployed again. Because there
Yes.
is no way I could have gone to work with that company when even driving it would be like a 2 hour drive. And nobody wants to drive 2 hours for a job. There ain't no job as an assistant
That
manager,
is.
2 hour drive. And so even then, I wasn't, as we would say, obedient to God as I should be, but He still kept me. I've been through some dark places, but He has kept me through everything. I can now look back, the poem that talk about God when I was walking and I only saw one set of
So one
footsteps.
foot footprints,
That
yes.
that was me, because many a times I should have fallen flat on my face, but He kept me. But that one just stands out the most for me. Not the most, but it stands out a lot for me because
Yeah.
I thought I was so devastated. I cried for days how I didn't get this job because I was
Wow.
so sure I got this job. It was exactly what I was looking for. It was a legal assistant job, and I wanted to be in that field. It was, and I didn't get it, and they moved away, and I'm like, and this is like a year later.
Yes.
It wasn't immediately. It was like a year later,
Yeah.
and I'm like, look at that.
Yeah. You
Even in
know,
my disobedience, I can recognize God's hand.
yes, yes. And it says that God has plans for prosperity, for your future, for a hope. And
Mhm.
He knows the beginning from the end. And so when we can't see with our mortal eyes, He knows what's going to happen, and He has already charted the course for us, and we just need
Exactly.
to fall in line. I recognize from what you're saying, you've mentioned some dark places, you've had some experiences. And if you don't mind, I'd like you to share some more of those experiences with us in terms of where you've seen the Lord making things possible for you, and opening doors and shedding light on areas for you.
Well, even the job at the bank, for example, that was a temp job. I went in as a temp. I worked there for a few weeks, and then I got a permanent job. And I went in to tell them, look, I got a permanent job. It was great working with you guys, but I got to go. And my boss is like, no, you can't. I'm like, yes, I can. Because you're not offering me a permanent job and a permanent job. I need benefits. You're not offering me benefits. And he worked some magic and I got a contract. And I was contracted there for about 6 years. And then I got a full time job, which lasted about another 10 years. So that worked out really well without me doing anything. That was not me. And then they hired a new president there, and he downsized and he laid off. It was a huge company. We had probably about 3,000 employees, and he laid off about 1,000 of us, or almost 1,000 of us. So I got laid off, and I was sending out resumes. I wasn't pressed for time. I had time, and I had gotten a good severance package. So I'm like, I can survive for 6 months. I'll just keep looking. And one day I was in my basement just puttering around. I got a call, and the person said, we saw your resume. You're looking for a job, are you? I said, yeah, I am. I was so nonchalant about it. I said, yeah,
Yes.
whatever. And she asked me, so she interviewed me on the phone. And then she called back, and I came in and met with everybody. And she's now, when I interviewed with her, she was the director of HR, and she had just started here. And so I was her first interview and her first hire. And now she is the chief operating officer of my company, and I'm her assistant. So this is how God has taken me a full circle, a
Yes.
full circle, because I started out in a totally different department. I was just nonchalant. Okay, if you say so, all righty, I'll take. But I was trying to get out of DC. I was getting tired of the commute. So this was in the opposite direction of DC. So I said, okay, that's meeting the first criteria. And then it turned out to be just what I
That's
needed.
right.
And now I
Yes.
work for the COO and the president of the company.
Look at that.
So
People say, look at God. Look
look at
at
God.
God. Look at God. With men, it is impossible, but with God, all things are possible.
All things
And
are possible.
we don't have to do a thing.
No,
God
because this
had,
position, I didn't go searching for this position. I mean, I got that and I was there working. And then they got a new president, and the person who had this position, her old boss invited her to move to California to be with her. And she moved. And so I said, what the heck? Let me just apply.
yeah,
And I got it. And here I am.
yeah,
It was just like I was here and I'm like, let me see if they'll give me the promotion. And I
yes,
went in and talked to them with the possibility, you could or you couldn't, but
yes,
I wasn't
yes.
pressed for it, and then it happened, and I'm like, here it is. This
The,
is
the,
God.
uh, I'm, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, oh, your life is so easy. I mean,
Easy.
dropping, things are just dropping in your lap. But I know you mentioned the dark places, the dark situation. So obviously it isn't. But these um situations where God has come through for you has definitely given you light, given you hope, and allowed you to recognize that you are important to God, and that He talks about us being more precious than the golden wedge of Ophir. He talks about
I
writing
have
your
I
name in
have
His
learned
palm.
that in the past 2 years. If I have never known that before, I learned that in the past 2 years. My bald head is not because I am beautiful with a bald head. Yes, I am. I know that,
And
but
yes,
that's
you
not the
are.
reason. That's not the reason why I have a bald head. Believe it or not, I'm a very vain person when it comes to my looks. I try to look my best at all times. Going to the grocery store, I gotta look good. You never know who you're
Yes.
gonna bump into, and they're gonna be like, "Girl, did you see Dorothy? She looks so bad." No, that's never gonna be me. So I was losing my hair like right here, and so I'd always wear a wig. But then
Yes.
COVID hit. We were working from home. That was relaxed. I went in to get my annual physical, and
Mm.
then you have to do your mammogram, and I'm like, oh, it's COVID. I don't want nobody breathing in my face because to do that, to lift you up and do all that, they have to be so
Yes,
close.
yes, yes. Very
So I kept
close.
putting it off. My annual was in January. I ended up going to get my sister and I was looking. We were looking for mangoes one day and passed and saw that the Adventist healthcare had opened a new imaging center, and I'm like, oh, I should go over there and do my scans and stuff. I had a couple of
Yeah.
scans I had to do. And then when I called to make the appointment, they said, oh, we can't do a mammogram here because you've never been here before. You'll have to go back or we have to get the film. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll just go wherever. But when I went in to have the other scans do, the tech said to me, you have a mammogram on your prescription. And I explained what the person had said. She said, no, we can do it here. We'll get the film. So she did.
Hmm.
And then I got a call 2 weeks later. They saw something in the scan and I needed to go in and get a biopsy done. And I went in and got a biopsy done, and it came back positive for cancer. Now, if I had waited and gone back to the old place, I probably would have waited another 6 months because I've always, as a nurse,
Yeah.
always done my mammogram. So I just figure I'm fine. It's not a family history. Nobody has it. But anyway, it turned out that was it. And I had to, so I went on the treatments. I had a mastectomy. I had 20 weeks of chemo, 25 treatments of radiation, and today I'm in remission. I'm cancer free, but it was a very
God
dark
be
place.
glory.
But I remember one morning I woke up and the song that came to me is "God will take care of you." Out of the clear blue
Mm.
sky, I just woke up at 6 o'clock with that song in my head. And I remember calling Melba, and I said, Melba, this song came to me this morning. And she said to me, God will take care of you. And so even though I went through all of that and it was it's one of the darkest things you can ever imagine because, there's no cure. So it sits in the back of your mind. But I'm at a place where I'm like, well, God has brought me this far. He ain't going to leave me now. So here we are, fighting it, embracing the bald
Yes.
head because I couldn't wear a wig because it was so
Yes.
uncomfortable. And so I
Yes.
would just go out with the bald head. And I remember going to a board meeting actually, and everybody's like, "What happened? You look so beautiful. What happened to your hair?" And I told them, and they're like, "Don't wear that wig again. You don't need it."
Yes.
So here it is.
Yes.
I still need
Yes.
a wig though. I need to, as women, we like to look different from day to day. So,
Day to day. Yes. Yes.
but
But
that I think out of all my dark places, that was probably the darkest that has ever happened to me.
yes.
But I have been blessed with good friends and family, and I now have a church family that has really embraced me and have really, every week the pastor called to, when I was going through this, every week he'd call and pray with me to make sure I was doing, if I, I was doing well. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I had
Yeah.
friends who called and prayed with me continuously and just check. And I won't forget, I won't even talk about my family because
Yes.
my sister that speaking of God taking us full circle,
Yes.
my brother ended up leaving Loma Linda, went to work at Morehouse, and lives in Atlanta, which is great. Beautiful place.
Yes.
Not my kind of place, but beautiful place.
Yes.
But my sister that is here has become
Yes.
my best friend.
Yes.
Sister that is here is 9 years older than me. So we didn't really grow up really tight. By the time I was a teenager, she's already moved to the US. But over the past few years, we've gotten really tight. And in this past 2 years, she and her family has taken such good care of me that I couldn't ask for anything more. They would take me to my treatments, pick me up, anything I needed. I remember once I had a rash for a week. She gave me an antibiotic that I was accustomed to. My sister got me calamine lotion. She got me like 10 different
That's
things.
it.
I'm like, I only need one. She's
What?
like, and if one doesn't work, you have another one and another one and another one.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
I have been blessed.
Yes.
These are the
Oh,
things that I see. I don't see the dark moments. They're there
yes.
as history and for me to
Yes.
remember all the dark parts that I've had and where I am today. And even with my son, he lives in California, but if I cough, he's here. If I say,
Yeah.
like last year, I had my final surgery. He was here for a month to make
Yes.
sure that I was okay. So it's
Yes.
it's just stuff like that. My sister was like, if he's not here, you have to move in with us. He's like, I'm there. So he came, he was here. He
Yes.
said that.
Yes.
And it was so funny because I had to, do the drainage and stuff. He was my nurse. He was my nurse. And if I got up, he was like, where are you going? What you need? What you need? And he was there. So
Yes.
it's
Yes.
God has been good.
Yes. I remember him
Yeah,
as a little boy. I remember him. Yeah.
he's
Um,
still here.
yeah. You know, you've spoken about your friends, you've spoken about your family, and I hear coming through the development of your relationship with God. How would you describe your relationship and your journey with God at this point?
So when I was a kid growing up, I had a great relationship, I think, with God. But I don't think I knew him personally.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I went to work with the church, I'm just gonna say the church,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I um I lost sight. I got, politics is when we look at the news in like in America and we look and we see the way Mr. Trump behaves and Mr. Biden is getting old and things are happening and they're struggling with places. And we see that as politics, but that is in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And as a young Christian, and that was in the church, that was in the system that I was working in, and they had politics and they had election. and I was told that I didn't have a job. I would have to wait to be reassigned. And I just lost track of it. I just like stepped away from the church because I think I probably placed my trust more in the leaders than in God Himself. So
Mhm.
I got sidetracked, and I have to say I left the church. I tried other churches. I tried the Baptist church. I tried the non-denominational church. I did all of that. I never
Mhm.
left God. I just didn't hang around the Adventists.
Mhm.
My son went to church. You know, we just did it differently. But then over time, actually, it started with Desiree because she had her babies, and she needed help at church with her babies. And I started going back to church with her. And it
Wow.
ignited my love of, of the Adventist church. And that is how I started going back to church, to the Adventist church. I never left
Dentist.
church.
Mhm.
I never
Mhm.
left God. God was still there. I read my Bible, prayed every day, did everything, tried to do the right thing. Somewhere along the line, you know, you screw up on some of the things because I was never married, but I have a son, and that is my blessing. I still
Yes.
see him as a blessing from God.
Yes.
But
Yes.
those were the things that I kind of stepped away, but now I am back.
Lovely. And isn't it lovely to be back? Don't you
It
feel that
is.
you're home?
It
You
is
feel home.
lovely to be back. It is so, and even now the church that I attend is pretty close to the to home, and I just choose it because it was close to home. Yvonne, I still love you, and I still love Seabrook, but you guys are 50 minutes drive on a Sabbath morning. Sometimes I lose my faith by the time I reach a church because I've cussed off everybody on the road driving to church. But my current church is 5 minutes from my house, and they're very
Yes.
warm and accepting.
Yeah. Yeah. And what we when we find a community that we feel a part of, because it doesn't matter where we are in life, that sense of community, that sense of
Hmm.
belonging will help us in any situation. And that's what all of us want. We want that connection. You know,
Exactly.
you said you tried other churches, but you never left God. You
Mm,
never left God. And that is important, because the church, we're human beings, so we'll always rub each other differently, and we'll make mistakes in how we present the gospel and our own relationship with the Lord. But the important thing is that it doesn't matter if we leave the church, as long as we don't leave God, because
exactly. We
that
never
is the
did.
important thing.
I
That
never did. I tried the Baptist church. I didn't like the Baptist church very much because they were just, I don't know, but
different,
they were different.
different,
But then I
different.
tried a non-denominational church, and they were really very nice, and I really felt at home there. I felt good. It had a great congregation. It had a great Jamaican group. I still talk to a few people from there,
Yeah.
and but then I just drifted away from them for no reason at all. I stopped going every. I think when once my son went off to college, I kind of lost interest and didn't go as often as I can. And then that's when I met Desiree at work, actually, and because I didn't know her before. When I left Jamaica, Desiree was a
A,
baby.
a
You know,
baby, yes.
I left Jamaica in 1986. That's a long time ago.
Mm,
So I
yes.
knew her parents, and so, you know, we started working at the same place and we became friends. And then she invited me to church. I mean, Yvonne had invited me and I'd gone a couple of times, but I didn't go regularly. I just like occasionally I'll turn up when I feel like going to church, I'll turn up, but I
Yeah.
wasn't really going to church at the time. And Desiree invited me to go to church to help with her little babies who are
Your
teenagers now.
grandbabies.
But
Yeah.
that's how I
Yeah.
started going back.
Yeah. But we if we were to look back over our lives and map out where God steps in and how he steps in and how he works things out, we would be amazed. Because look at that. You didn't know Des, you knew her parents.
Hmm.
You're now in a different country. And who
Totally.
is it? Exactly. Somebody from your past, not even her parents, but the daughter of the parents that you knew. She's the
Mhm.
person who was able to pull you back by saying, I need some help, and you
And
offering
the way
help.
and the way we met, we were both doing part-time jobs. For she had her full-time job, I had my full-time job, and we were doing part-time job for a gastroenterologist. I was the admin, she was the nurse, and that's how we
Wow.
met. And I had already met her sister, Naudria, and from before. And then Naudria brought her in, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know your parents. Don't know you, never met you.
Yeah,
The last time I saw you, you were
you're a
probably a
baby.
baby, and it was amazing. But I think of even Yvonne, of all the places in America that you could move to, and 90% of Jamaicans either move to Florida or New York.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And here she comes to Maryland, a stone throw away. We don't see each other as often, but 20 minutes
Yeah.
away. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing?
And it goes to, and I have to go back to the passage of scripture that I start with. I know the plans that I have for you. And
Mhm.
though God has a linear path for us, we may take the curves and the or the routes that we want to take, but we will still come back to the plans that He has
That
for
we
us.
had.
You know? And then
Yeah,
we'll be like, why didn't I just go that way before?
because we are following our own thoughts and process, like God asked us for help.
Yeah.
We helping
Yes.
God like He
Yes.
said, I need your help. And I'm like, but
Yes.
if we did it this way, and that way, but God didn't ask us for help. If we follow what He has for us, we would end up
Yes.
at the same, like I feel like I'd end up at the same place with less headache
Yeah. And quicker.
and quicker. Oh, yeah,
Definitely much
so
quicker.
much quicker. I would not
Definitely.
have taken all those side streets. I'd have stayed on the
Yes.
main highway.
Yes.
I
Yes.
got,
And the
I
view,
got attracted to
the
all the side streets.
yes. It will be a wonderful reunion when we go to heaven and we sit down and we talk to God, because I know He's waiting for us to sit down and ask Him all the questions that what did you think of when I took that decision? What were you thinking? What did
I
you
don't
say,
think I
God?
want to know. I don't want to know. I'm all right. I'll pass on that one.
He might be saying, my child,
He's
I
going
was
to be like,
looking at you with a
he's
quizzical
going
look
to
in
be
my
like,
eyes
really,
again.
Dorothy? You really? I'm like, nope, it's good. We don't need to know because I know all the paths that I've taken. Nah,
Yes.
mm, we're gonna just let him say welcome
The-
and leave it at that.
I've been waiting for you for a long
Yes,
time.
and I can
Oh,
say thank you, God, for being my father and being so loving and forgiving, and His grace and His mercy, keeps us going. That's all I need. I don't need to ask Him about what you think. I know what He thinks. I already know
oh,
what He thinks about some of those paths that I took.
yeah. But I like the fact that you've spoken about His love and His forgiveness, His grace. And that is what we are grateful for. We're
Mhm.
grateful that in spite of our decisions, in spite of the roads that we have taken, His grace, His love, His forgiveness are free for us if we want them. Dar, this has been, I am so happy that I've been able to talk to you, and I'm so happy that you have been um, transparent and vulnerable, sharing with us. We appreciate it, and I know that your story has resonated with quite a number of people who have been part of our church and have walked away and have returned and have discovered this real bond with God, their God, because now it's their personal
It is their
relationship.
personal relationship. And don't let anybody in our community, we like to bring up the past. You see
Yeah.
somebody and they say, you come back at church? We're so glad to see you.
Mm,
Don't let
mhm.
anybody, because that was what took me out the first time. I
Yes,
was following,
yes,
I got so mad with everybody else. It's like
yes.
you're angry at them, but they're living their lives. It's like you're giving them space in your head for free while they're
Mhm.
doing what they want
Mhm.
to do. So don't let anybody take your joy or your salvation by
Yeah.
looking at them. They're not who you're supposed to look to. Yes, they're gonna come, and God said the wheat and the tares are gonna grow together. So they're
Yeah.
going to be there. And Satan loves the church. That's his best place. That's where he hangs out the most.
Mhm.
So he's
Yes.
going to come discourage you, and he's going to say, look at Sister Sonia. Look at
Mhm.
Sister Dorothy. You know where I saw her the other day? So
Mhm.
don't let that discourage you. Hang on to what you know is right. When you have your problem, talk to God. That's the person you need to talk to. And sometimes we, as especially we as Jamaicans, like to talk about my mind. Say, it's not your mind. It's the Holy Spirit speaking to you. And listen. Sometimes it's as simple as I'm going to work and I think I should go this way. And I'm like, nah, I'm going to go that way. You go that way and there's an accident. The Holy Spirit
Mhm.
told you to go the other way, but you didn't feel like it and you're following your mind. It's not yours. Follow what the Holy Spirit tell you and you'll never go wrong.
Yes, preacher, Dorothy. I said, I sitting down here and I
Experience.
remembered you saying that you don't want the
Experience.
theology.
No, I didn't want to do, still don't want to do it, but I have experienced it. And I
Yeah.
think when you have experienced it, your sermon is different from just taking up a Bible and reading it. But when you experience God's love and the power and the grace and the mercy for your personal self, and when you go to that edge and you see how you could have fallen off the edge and He held you,
Mm.
yeah, that's my
Yes,
sermon.
yes, yes, yes. Some people may never hear a sermon, but they'll definitely see it in the life that we have lived. Um,
And that's the biggest sermon, the biggest
yes,
sermon.
yes. I have a question for you, Doran. It has to be based on your life experiences. How would you, what does it mean for you for me to say it is possible?
I think we are our own worst enemies because we doubt our possibilities and we compare ourselves. So
Mm.
I graduated from Westerners College. I did a couple of certificate courses here and a couple of certificate courses there. And I thought that I would always remain a low level admin assistant, doubting myself, comparing myself to this person or that person. When indeed it is possible if you put in the work, if you take the time to put in the work and really follow the path that God has for you. And I have learned before I ask, I pray. Before I ask humans, I pray. I ask my God. And I don't ask God, I want this. I said, I would like to have this if it is your will for me. But if it is not your
Yes.
will for you, box it away. Take it away from me because then it is going to hinder me from the life you have for me. Then I will walk away from it. And it's not only like in my job, it's in my personal life, it's in
Mhm.
relationship and everything. Everybody's like, you're still single? Yes, because God has not found a man that can take all of this happiness. So I have to just deal with what God has. Or maybe when I was on the street, my partner went down the straight street, the main street. But here is where I am right now, and my possibility is today, not yesterday.
Yes.
You
Yes.
can't drive forward looking in your rearview mirror. So, if you want something and you think it's possible, and this is something you really need, you think you really want, pray about it. That is my number one thing. Pray about it. Ask God, and if God sees it for you, He'll open doors that nobody can even understand. Sometimes you have to look back and say, "Wait a minute, how this happened?" Because God made it possible. But at the same time, you have to prepare. He's not going to take you as a engineer and make you into a medical doctor.
Mm.
No, he's going to probably push you up the engineering line or put you back into school or whatever it is. But at the same time, he's not going to give it to you because you ask. He's going to give it to you because it's what is best for you.
That. I love that. I love that. Don't look behind you if you want to go forward.
You
You know,
can't you
um,
can't drive you can't drive looking forward in the rearview mirror.
no,
And
no.
and a lot of times we live in regret and mistakes, but that's what makes us who we are. And it's history. You learn from history. You learn
Yes,
from your mistakes.
yes,
Okay, you did this wrong. Move on and live with the consequences. But God is so forgiving that even with the consequences, you can make wonderful life. You can make a
yes.
wonderful life, and things can be better than you even thought they could be because He is in your corner.
Yes, I like that. He is in your corner. Your possibility is today.
Endless today.
Learn from your history.
Mhm.
Learn from history. Deal with the consequences, and you can have a great life.
Yeah, because He didn't tell you
Dorothy.
that you weren't going to have consequences. You know, you disobey, you're going to get spanked. That's just the way it
Yes,
is.
yes,
But
yes,
then you
yes,
don't, like the first day you touch that stove and it burned, you didn't touch that stove again. You
uh-uh.
learned and then you moved on.
Yeah,
So that's
yes,
what we need to do. Learn to move, to take that lesson. We all make mistakes. We're humans. We fall in short. We're still in
yes.
falling short, and some of us shorter than some, but we're falling short.
But the goodness
We
of
move
God,
on.
the
We
goodness
move
of
on.
God.
Hmm.
You know, Dorothy, it has been really good talking to you, catching up with you, and seeing how God has worked in your life. And you are glowing. I love the bald head. I love it. I
Thank
love it.
you.
I love it. Um, um, Mine is there as well. It's just that it's kind of cold now, so I just covering the mole. Um, so, but I want to share.
Sick over the mole.
Oh yes, I had my scarf on, and I had my scarf on for today, and but I took it off for to come on. I want to share some things with you, Dor, and I don't know if Philip is ready to share with us. We have a section that we do called Tuesday's Treasure Trove. Philip, are we ready? Can we go to that segment, please? And Dor, I had some people say things.
I remember that.
Hi, my name is Vivienne Morris Scarlett, and I'm from the tiny community of Albion in Manchester, Jamaica. And who is Dorothy E. Patrickson, affectionately called Dor? Well, Dor has been my friend and my sister for as long as I can remember. We grew up in the same community, the same Albion. We walked together to school from the kindergarten right up through the prep school, right into high school. We attended West Indies College, high school and college. And we would walk to school as children, little children, we would walk to school together every day, and we would walk back home together every day. And sometimes when we had little differences of opinion, and we might not have been speaking to each other on that particular evening or morning, guess what? We still walked together, and the following morning we would still be walking to school together. That was a very special beginning of what has become an amazing sisterhood and friendship that no matter how long we have not seen each other or spoken to each other, the love remains. It is as strong as ever. And when we meet, the greeting is as genuine and as full of joy and happiness as it has always been. Dor is somebody who we would get up to all kinds of conversations on the way home when from school. And sometimes a little bit of mischief as we're traveling along, a little teasing of this one here and there, very quietly and without a whole lot of fanfare. But we just enjoyed those walks, those talks, those conversations. And today I have to tell you that Dor means the world to me. She is my sister. She's my friend, and I love her dearly. Dory is loved in the same way by all the members of my family. Even today, my siblings will still tease. People in the community would overhear our conversations as we would be walking to and from school on different days. One of them went like this, me saying to her, Dor, you coming to play with me tomorrow? And Dor saying to me, if I have the time. And that became like a little piece of poetry that people would repeat teasingly as we would go past. Dor is super special to me. I wish her all the love, all the best, and I love her to my heart.
Oh, love you back.
Sonia has asked me to do an impossible task of saying how much Miss Dorothy Patrickson means to me in 1 minute. And Sonia, this is going to be very difficult for me. Um, Dorothy Patrickson, otherwise known as Nana to my children. Dorothy Patrickson is the godmother of my daughter. If you look at my daughter and look at Miss Dorothy, as I call her, you'd think that it's mother and daughter. Miss Dorothy is actually my adopted mother, my second mother, and words cannot express how much this wonderful woman of God means to me. Um, Trying to make this as brief as possible, just to show you how instrumental she has been in my life. When I was pregnant with my first child, my son, Miss Dorothy was the one who came and got me that Sabbath morning 13 years ago, drove me to the hospital on that Sabbath morning, stayed with me all day when I was in labor until my son was born at 7:35 p.m. that Saturday night. She
JJK.
never left my bedside. Um, she took us home afterwards, and I remember her driving 3 miles per hour because, as she termed it, she had precious cargo.
Precious
And
cargo.
she made
Of
sure we were
course.
situated, that I had soup, that I was comfortable. She was a true mother to me who had just begun my first experience as having a live human being call me mother. Um, Miss Dorothy has been to me such a source of strength and encouragement. Um, she is such a positive person. The glass is always full with her. I would call her to complain or stress about something, and all I'll hear is, well, you have to think about it like this. And she would just go off into this whole dialogue about being positive or sharing her life experiences with you. And at the end of our conversations, all I can do is just say, okay, Miss D, and just accept whatever. I don't have a choice. Even now, I don't have a choice to um but to accept whatever she shared with me. And she's never been wrong in her wise counsel. Miss Dorothy, we love you. My children love their Nana. We appreciate you, and we will never be able to demonstrate to you in this life the impact that you've had on our lives, especially my life. I love you dearly. I
Oh,
appreciate you, and we're still waiting. Your bedroom is here ready in
I'm
Atlanta for
coming.
you. We're still waiting.
We're
Love you.
coming. I'm coming.
Hi,
Oh,
Dorothy. It's difficult to even begin to share in 1 minute exactly what you mean to me or who you are to me, because here we're talking about a lifetime of friendship. You have been a constant friend over the years, from preparatory to high school and then our college years. Jumping hopscotch, skipping, and eating curried rice. If
you
you know,
know,
you know.
You know,
Adulting, yes, we did
if
that
you know,
too.
you
So
know.
much fun things we did together. I can't recall any disagreements we have. Can you? But think we must have since we're normal friends. We
I'm
kind of
sure we
trailed
did.
each other. You moved to Spanish Town, I did. They're not too sure who trailed who to Kingston, but I know we lived in close proximity. And then you migrated, and we tried as best to keep in contact. And then several years when I migrated, guess what? We lived in the same state, living now in neighboring cities. I was like we never missed a beat.
Mm-mm.
You welcomed me warmly, helped me settle in, and yes, you bought me my first winter jacket. Dorothy, you're beautiful,
I remember that.
intelligent, and a real sweetheart. And I'm so happy to have this opportunity to celebrate the awesome you. I've always admired your wisdom, your strength, your ability to surmount adversities, even in your recent crucible. You are braver than I could ever imagine. Thank you for being in my inner circle of friends. I do appreciate you. You are a keeper.
Oh,
I love you, sis.
love you
Blessings on
too.
blessings.
Mm. Mel.
Dorothy Patrickson. What can I say about her? But that she's an awesome individual. She's a great friend. She's always so very supportive and is always there for you. I see her as a professional extraordinaire. Whatever she touches, turn gold. Doris polite and is always going that extra mile. She is a very trusted friend who sticks closer than a brother, and I'd want to substitute sister. Trust me when I say you don't have to worry because she will always have your back. I see her as a confidant that gives you that safe space in which we share our inmost concerns without judgment or fear of repercussions. She is an awesome individual.
So there's no real good measurement to measure how
Oh
good of a mother
my
is,
gosh.
but even if there was, my mother would break the mold. I don't think it's possible to give a
Oh,
quick commercial about how I feel about her, but I will try and stick to the highlights and see if I can give you the gist. My mother is kind, caring, compassionate. She's optimistic, and most of all, she's wise. Our relationship, she has been my moral guide, my cheerleader, and my confidant. With my mother,
With
there's
my
no
mother,
small
there's no
victories. It's
small
all
victories. It's all
victories. They're all
victories.
wins
It's
that
all
help
wins
us
that
keep
help
moving
us.
forward in life. Everything is a step forward, and even if it's a sidestep, it's a sidestep
oh,
towards another victory. She's fully invested in my life, whether it's small, trivial work stories or where I'm going in my career, or even all the way down to small things like playing kickball with my friends. She wants to know about the games and the team names and the stories that I have to tell. One quick story that I can share is that after college, I moved back home, and one of my friends from high school, he needed a place to live. His family had kicked him out, and without any hesitation, my mom swooped in and gave him a place to stay because she could not understand how anyone could love any other way but unconditionally. She is the most amazing person there is to have in the family. All the great things about me come from her. They're from her greatness. I move through
oh.
life trying to be an impressive person, but most of all, I try to make her proud. I love her greatly, and to say that she is the best mom in the world would not be an understatement in this case.
My baby.
I had, yeah, so those are some treasured
Oh,
statements from people who know you very well. And I thought that it would be wonderful for you to hear it from them today.
Yeah, that's so refreshing. I was just looking at Vivian, and I remember when we were kids, we would tell people we were twins because we didn't understand what it meant to be
Going
twins.
to be twins.
We were
Yeah.
twins with different mothers.
Yes.
That's how smart we were. Oh wow! Thank you,
Yeah.
Sonia, for that
You are
little
very welcome.
collage. That was really nice. Even got my son. How did you do that?
I have my ways. I have
You
my
have connections. I'm afraid of you now. Oh
Yes. But yes, Dory, it has been a pleasure, an absolute pleasure to
no.
have spoken with you today. Um, I really appreciate the fact that you gave us of the time, and I thought it was important that we definitely gave you from Tuesday's Treasure Trove just a little
Thank
snippet of
you.
how people think of you and how awesome you are to others. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We've come to the end of another It Is Possible Tuesday with Sanya. I want to thank Dor for making time and for being with us. Thank you very much for all persons who contributed to Tuesday's Treasure Trove. And I just want to remind you that you must be a dreamer, a doer, a thinker, see possibility everywhere. Because you are alive, everything is possible.
It is.
But Jesus beheld them and said unto them, with men this is impossible, are possible. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you and have a wonderful December. I'll see you next year for our next It Is Possible Tuesday. Dor, thank you
Thank
ever
you.
so much.
Thank you so much for the platform. It was a pleasure. I was a little
You
nervous
are
as to what to say or what to do, but it has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I know people will be blessed and have been inspired by your story and your life that you've shared with us today. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Philip. Let us
I
take it
know.
away.
Thank you.